Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. It's Thanksgiving Day. The sun's just going down. I just put my turkey in the oven. We decided this year we were going to eat around 6:30. So I was able to come out here, work in the shop half the day. Spent the other half of the day working on honeydew projects. That's quite a list in itself. But this morning, working on the 31 Model A Tudor, getting it ready to put the 496 back in it. It was in it a year ago when I didn't own it, and I bought the engine a year ago. Now I'm going to reunite it with the chassis and one of my favorite transmissions I ever built. We'll talk about that in a minute, but when you get a project, you make it your own. You look at things you like, you dislike. It's no disservice to the people that built it, but in the end, you're gonna do what you know to do. And one of the things I first noticed when I was hooking this to the trailer to bring it home last week is it has a triangulated 4-link. The lower bars in the front were single shear. There's this nice big bracket on the frame. The bolt went all the way through it. The 4-link bar sits next to it, and then there's a nut and a washer. That's exactly how Boling, B-O-L-I-N-G Brothers chassis, that's the way they build them. I was on their website this morning, and regardless of where they put the 4-link, because sometimes they're halfway up the frame, depends on how low the car's gonna sit, but they're all single shear, just on the front of the lower bars. Now, I'm not racing this car, doesn't have big slicks, all things that would especially make me worry about it, but for about 2.5 hours time, it would take less if you did this every day, but I don't. I had these triangle brackets my buddy Tom cut out on a CNC machine. No holes in them, they're just a triangle piece of probably 3/16 by the looks of it. I had a sheet of that, I believe, and he cut me all kinds of random the start of a nice little tab or bracket, and then today I finished 2 of them, and it happens that there's this support piece, hope you can see it, frame support in the middle, which hung right over the top of it. So it was a pretty simple matter to take cut a half circle in the big end and then drill the hole and fit it up, and both sides took the same length tab. I did them at the same time. I clamped them together and they fit on both sides. That's always a good sign, because reality, depending on who made the frame, if it was made in Detroit, probably 3/8 of an inch would be acceptable. Maybe more. Like the old Novas, the body's made 1/2 inch crooked. But we're not talking about old Novas. We're talking about a 31 Model A on a Boling Brothers chassis that was bought last year, I believe. I was also on their website trying to figure out which one it was, because I could tell, didn't really notice till I got it home. It's kind of cool. The front of the chassis sweeps up. I believe this is what they call a 2.5 chassis. It sweeps up 2 inches in the front and 5 kick up in the back, 5 inches. So if you ever saw a stock Model A, when somebody takes the fenders off it, they're about 3 feet in the air. Look like you're gonna tip over. And the closer you get to Earth, the cooler the factor is. It's a direct scale, sliding scale. The closer to the Earth, the cooler it is. So while this is not channeled, the body is not channeled over the frame, at least the frame itself has done some work to lower it down. Plus it has about a 4-inch drop axle. I'm looking at it. So anyway, about 2.5 hours, it was pretty easy. I had my support under the rear end, which I'm always nervous. The car does not have a motor and transmission in it yet. It has a full strength rear end that it's going to tip off the lift. First thing I do when I pick the lift up is rock it really good to see if it's going to fall. That's actually on the sticker somewhere on the lift, I think. There's also a picture of the car falling off the lift and the guy's going like this, tying the boogie. So one at a time, I tacked it all up with the link in place, and then I didn't want these rubber bushings getting hot, so I just slid the bolt out, dropped it out of sight, welded one side at a time. I cheated and MIG welded it. There's no reason not to. Overhead only takes a minute. And I shined up the paint to weld in that area, but it always affects more than what you clean off. And I find that a wire brush and then Scotch-Brite afterwards does a nice taper on the old paint. So when you spray more paint on it, it looks pretty good. So that's what I did. One side at a time. The heat of the weld helped the paint to dry in a hurry, and then I just put it back together when I could touch it. So that was done. So one or two more things I need to accomplish before we put the motor and transmission back in is, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the way the transmission cross member is, it's not wide enough between the tubes to make a quick disconnect. It's not wide enough to bolt up the flat piece that goes across. If I left enough in that I could bolt the piece back so I could remove it, the tail housing won't fit between it. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is going to be difficult, and I'm not sure how serviceable it would be anyway. I think I'm going to suck it up and just put the motor and transmission in one piece, which is pretty rare for me. So tomorrow's another day. I haven't put it in yet, but a couple other things I want to address is the bolts that hold the shifter. It has a B&M, their version of a quarter stick, a Hurst quarter stick. Well, B&M made one kind of just like it. And it's a little close to my leg and a little far back because I had to move the seat ahead because my legs aren't as long. Inside the cab, like I mentioned, I worked on the brake pedal pad and I got it to where I can drive with my boots. So I think that's going to be okay. The seat's comfortable. I can reach the pedals. I have to do something to get the steering wheel closer to me, but worry about that. So I think the brake issue is halfway to being fixed. I want to move the shifter. It's too close to my leg. Like I mentioned, the bolts and the lock nuts are right over the transmission, so I'm going to go ahead and take those out before I put the transmission in there. There's a few minor things I want to move around. It has a transmission cooler mounted on the frame rail. I don't think you can see it, but I don't know. I'll laugh at myself when I rewatch the video. And it had short sections, had some fittings, had short sections of actual transmission hose, rubber hose with clamps, which you know I don't like, but at least it's transmission hose rated for 400 PSI. And it was fine. It lasted 3 years that he drove it. But I wanted to put AN fittings on it. So first thing I did, I took the tranny cooler off the frame. It was sitting there dripping anyway because it was just disconnected. And removed the fittings to find that it has -6 AN fittings already on the cooler, the one that's screwed to the frame. So I cleaned it out so it wouldn't drip on my head anymore. Bolted it back on the frame. The radiator also has ports for a cooler. I'm not sure if I'm just going to hook it back to the one on the frame rail, where it's ran for 3 years with no problems whatsoever. I've told the story. We ran a shop truck with a Turbo 400 with just a loop from the upper to the lower. That worked fine until the day we got a stall converter, and we all spent about 2 hours testing it, taking turns, and then we burned it up. I'm not sure any cooler would handle that load that day, but so I'm not sure if I'm going to hook the radiator in series. It's a whole lot easier if it's not hooked to it. If it's just back here, time will tell. So let's take a peek at the engine. So also this morning I reunited the green transmission with the 496 that was in the car 3 years ago, up to last year. I converted the fittings in the transmission over to -6 AN. My cool lines, if I only hook to the transmission cooler in the frame, are going to be relatively short. That's okay. Hooking up to the front engine of the transmission, I had the transmission on one of my lift tables, and with the engine hanging on the sling, that was actually easy. Now, in my life, I'm 61 in February, maybe once I've put a whole engine transmission in together, or even pulled them out together. I did some junkyarding one time, so we were pulling motors and transmissions at the same time. A whole bunch in one afternoon, but typically that's not the way I do it. I prefer to handle the engine and spending my life R&R and transmissions, putting that in afterwards is a piece of cake. So that's more natural to me than trying to force the whole thing in there. I see people go to great lengths to wrestle it in there. Fortunately, this car is not difficult. There's no fenders or anything, so you move the grill shell out of the way and the radiator, and pretty much straight shot in. So that'll probably be tomorrow if I get enough time between the honey-do list and other obligations. But coming into the whole still long weekend, I'm hoping by the end of the weekend the engine train will be sitting back inside. It does two things. It frees up floor space because this 496 has been sitting in the way for over a year now. I've been finished with it. And it gives me more time to ponder my dilemma. I'm going to go ahead and put it in as is. If you remember, these are 4500 Dominator size Holley Terminator Stealth throttle bodies. The ECU, you can run a Terminator, an HP, or a Dominator in the cab. It's not a self-contained rig. It's a primary and a secondary. I've got a dual sync distributor in it. I have all my senders in it. It's engine-wise complete. The linkage is hooked up, everything. A strong part of me wants to make another top plate for the profiler intake. I have the material and everything. I have a pair of 750 Holleys, a 4-port regulator. This car already has a Holley blue pump or a red pump in it. I could do some simple plumbing and a self-contained distributor, and it will be running. I'm not sure, my guesstimate, the Holley harness that's attached to the throttle bodies would come up about a foot short where I really want to put the HP ECU. It's pretty big. I can put it in the passenger footwell out in plain sight, I guess, but I wanted to hide it under the passenger seat potentially, and all the wiring that goes with it. I never, from the moment I even thought about buying this car, I never considered anything but a carburetor on it. It's had carburetors on it already, and it kind of fits the vibe I was going for. So I'm not sure if I'm not going to strip all the Holley stuff off and put it on the 47 Ford, which was the original plan. So I don't know. Can't make that decision today. I'm on the fence. I just don't know if I want to. I'd probably be happy if I did, or I do a lot of work for nothing. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I should have, it's not too late, I guess, finished my test run stand sitting over there and wire all the thing up and get it running and see if it's, even turns me on to continue on that. So that I'm on the fence about, totally honest. So it has a cable throttle. I don't know if I'll use it or convert it to a rod. I'm kind of a fan of the rod, but we'll see. Either way, I mean, I'm looking at the holes already there, but it's a lot to like about this car, and kind of fun working on it. Try not to make a huge project out of it, even though I'm really good at it. The 4-link brackets I thought about for a few days, and I just couldn't leave it the way it was. Even though that's the way they run, the people that make the chassis run them, I didn't like it and I fixed it. Probably didn't need to be fixed, but in my brain, there was no other way. So I hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving and with your family. Hope you got to sneak away and, do some things you might have wanted to do as well. Growing up, that's the way it always was. It was, family time, and then everybody had a hobby and you had a day off and you probably did that. So, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. Take care.